Welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of Progress podcast. Hope everybody is having a great day. I am really excited. I've got a friend of mine on the podcast today that selfishly I'm just anxious to learn a little bit more about his background and just over especially the last year and a half or so since I've known him, just seeing him scale his business and really get to another level that I aspire to be myself. My friend Chris Erickson is on the podcast today. Chris, welcome to the show.
Howdy, howdy. Thanks for having me on. Excited to be on. I was going to ask you right off the bat, Pursuit of Progress. Where'd that come up from?
I would like to give some story that it had some significance and meaning behind it. But as we go into the age of technology, it was a chat GPT kind of pushing me into some suggested options. And I just thought it sounded good off the tongue with the P's. So
I like it. Yeah, no, it's a good name.
So thanks, man. I had to start looking into, is it trademarked? Is it, is there any other podcasts out there with the same names? I think won that battle, and there's nothing else out there. So I'm lucky on that front.
Yeah, I looked on Spotify and it was Pursuit of Progress, and you were the only one popped up, so you're good to go.
All right, sweet. So Chris, you're out in California. You're out in Southern California, and we've been connected just through our mutual real estate group, Legit Agents. But I'd love the audience just to learn a little bit more about who you are. Obviously, you're in California, but just a little bit of your background.
Yeah, born and raised San Diego, which if you live out here and you have been out here for a little bit, there's not many of us locals around. It's a lot of implants, a lot of transplants rather. A lot of people come from elsewhere. My wife's from New Jersey. She came out, went to school at Michigan. Yeah, a lot of San Diego living. I moved out of here for about 8 months, and that was twice. So once when I was in third grade, moved up to Sacramento for a little bit. And then right after college, moved up to Tahoe. Other than that, San Diego, born and bred, living here, all different parts. A little bit of college down at San Diego State. Yeah, nice little Aztecs. They're doing pretty well with little basketball. When we went there wasn't much going on. So now it's changed a little bit. Any of the San Diegans listening, did our standard decade in PB, Pacific Beach, which is like the post-college town everybody goes to. Nice little beach town, super fun. And yeah, now got a few kids. Digging life up here in Encinitas. So it's like, we call it North County, San Diego. San Diego's huge. I mean, there's so many different areas, even growing up here my whole life. They are like some places, as we're in real estate and stuff, it's like seeing new places all the time, like actually getting in these neighborhoods. Maybe you drove through like on the freeway or stuff, but actually getting into all these little spots and new things to do. And yeah, just living San Diego life right now, digging it so far.
So San Diego, are they second largest part of California after LA, or San Francisco bigger than San Diego?
I believe they are. I believe we're third. I was actually going to look it up before we hopped on, but we've done a bunch of videos too on this as well. But yeah, I think we're third largest city. So the city, like San Diego County, includes San Diego City, right? So San Diego City is just like downtown San Diego plus all these little outskirts. It actually goes up north quite a ways. It's kind of a weird outline. So some areas that people call, there's a place called Mira Mesa. That's actually San Diego, city of San Diego. North Parks is San Diego, all these little spots. And then you have like the county where there's all these different cities where you got, where I live, Encinitas and Carlsbad and all these other little spots. So, but yeah, it's big. It's spread out. We got coast, inland, mountains, deserts.
So you've been there your whole life. Did your parents, were they also longtime Californians, or like what's kind of your family's background for getting out on the West Coast?
Yeah, they all were here most of their lives too. My mom was born in Virginia. My pops was born, I believe, up in kind of the Iowa, Minnesota area. Yeah, lived out here. They've been out here forever. Grandpa was in the military, so they kind of ended out here. That's why they were in Virginia as well. They just been here their whole lives. They did high school. Like my mom and dad actually went to high school together. They were kind of high school sweethearts, if you will. And so they've been here forever, never left. I have a few brothers, two brothers, one sister, all local still. Nobody's left, which is great. And
that's cool. You don't see that very often.
Yeah, it's nice. It's nice to have your family like all right here too. Like once, a lot of people who move to San Diego too just never leave, because it's great. It's a great lifestyle. And same with us. It's like one of the biggest things, why leave? My family's all here. I love it here. Lifestyle's great. So digging it.
So I guess before we move on, just one last question on kind of where you're at in San Diego. I think of some of the kind of stereotype of a lot of people are now like leaving California. I guess there's aspects to that maybe in areas north of you, but as far as San Diego specifically, you're not really seeing that at all. People are still, relocating to San Diego in higher numbers than leaving.
Yeah, there's still people moving out. Like we help people relocate in and out of San Diego. But as far as like a lot of the people that we get relocation wise are from all over the place, but a lot are from LA, just LA, San Francisco, coming down here. That's like a good portion of people coming into San Diego, I believe, is people moving from either LA or Northern California, getting down here.
Interesting. I never really thought about that I know your background of business with a lot of your business being relocation clients and finding you on YouTube, and we'll dive into that in here in a little bit. But I never really had thought of that where even though it's a relocation person, they're actually still within your state. It's just a different part of the state. You guys have such a massive state that exists there. Okay.
Yeah, they're all different parts. San Diego is different than Orange County, is different than LA, is different than Central, is different than, there's Northern California. And then you have like the far Northern California where most people think California, San Francisco, like that's Northern California, which technically it is. But there's a huge swath of land like above that too, where you could just like going up to the border there. It's like a lot of California. You start getting into the woods and a lot more spread out up there, but it's actually real beautiful up there too.
Yeah, it's definitely on my list to check out. I've still never been to Oregon either. So I'd love just to hear kind of after college, after San Diego State, you said you went there for part of the time. Did you graduate, or you seem like an entrepreneur background where what's kind of give me like kind of from that point to now as far as getting into real estate? Did you do something else after college before this?
Yeah, so I did 2 years at junior college up here, and then
Okay.
I did 3 years in junior college, no big deal, and then 2 years in San Diego State. So those are my final 2 years. After that, we did our trip to Tahoe for a little bit, our little ski bum session, which that was the first time actually waking up, living in the snow, doing all that fun stuff, snowboarding all day. Not all day, we had to work a little bit too, but it was fun. So from there, came back, and my cousin and I, who was one of the guys I lived with up there, he's going. We're sitting there. I graduated with a business finance degree. He's got a business management degree, and it's time to get jobs. We're like, dude, I don't know. I don't want to go interview stuff. I don't want to do this. What do you want to do? Let's do a bit. Let's figure something out. And so my brother-in-law was in the pool business. We knew a few other guys in the pool service business. We're like, let's do that. Okay. So we, did our whole thing, and it was fun. It was like starting a business, putting together a business plan, figuring out how to even get this rolling. And I was like, perfect. I got my partner. I got my skills. Like, this is going to work out nicely. We're going to search for money because the way you get pools, just to start off, I mean, you could obviously just start, putting your name out there, but most people get started by buying a pool route. Those aren't cheap, but they're not super expensive. You usually recoup your money in about a few years, right? But we needed that cash. We came back from Tahoe working at a ski shop. We don't have any money. We actually just right after that too, we took a trip to Europe. So now we're like in the hole even more. We're like, okay, cool. This is great. We don't want jobs. Let's start this, put together a business plan, figure out how to get money. And we ended up lucking out. Well, not lucking out. We put together like a really solid business plan in our eyes. We did a full report. We just learned all that stuff in college. Like, okay, this will work. Went to a few different places, ended up at Union Bank, a bank out here in California. I don't know where else they are, but they're like, sure, we'll give you basically it was like a line of credit, but up to like $10,000. Do whatever you want. Like there wasn't restrictions on it. So we took that. We took about, $8,000 of that, bought a route from a buddy, and then bought equipment. And we already had our cars and trucks. That's what we were I was running it out of a Chevy Tahoe, which isn't great for pool because you have chemicals in there. It was just, every morning you get in, it's just chlorine smell. It's obviously you want like a truck or something. So we did that, and it was great. About 6 months to a year in, my partner, and I had him on because he was like people person. He was like the sales guy. He was like, that section of the business. I wanted to be more, I want to build the business. I want to do kind of the back end stuff. I want to get, start getting leads, that kind of stuff, getting new business, etc. And so it was going to be perfect. I was like, this is great. That 6 to 12 months in, he got a job offer from a company up in Orange County, which is about an hour and a half away. and construction. He's like talking to me. He's like, I said, yeah, go do it. So he left, and now I'm all by myself. I'm like, man, this is not how I planned it. But ended up, doing it for the next 8 years. So I was in the pool business for 9 years.
Wow.
And from our original, 10 pools, grew it to like 100 pools or so. So it wasn't crazy big. I had my brother working for me, but I never really turned it into a business. It was always a job, and I worked my butt off, and it was long days because I was at some points I was the only person on there. So I'm doing the service, I'm doing the maintenance, I'm doing the repairs. If something comes up, especially during summer times, people need stuff fixed. They want to use their pools. So I'm out there from sunrise to sunset, just come home smelling like chemicals, like burnt out. And it wasn't good. I was unhappy in doing that for many years. And I came to a point where it was like, okay, either I'm going to grow this business, I'm going to step out of here and make it a legitimate business where I could run the business, have employees, all that kind of stuff. I had my brother, had a guy doing repairs for me, etc. But it was not ideal. And it was wearing on me. I just was very unhappy. And so, like I said, for many years, it should have. I was talking with my coach, and he said, "Yeah, you're good at making big decisions, but like some other decisions, like you just need to make them and go. Instead of pondering them for, I don't know, years. Just do it." And anyway, so after 9 years, finally said, "Okay, I don't want to grow it." I had talks with another guy who would have done the part that I didn't want to do, but his dad wanted to bring him into the business anyways. It didn't work out. So 9 years later, I sold my business and got out of that and just decided, okay, I didn't have a plan at this point. I said, what am I going to do? I don't know. I can't do a pool business
because I had still single at this point. Are you still single at this point, or have you met your?
So yeah, I met my wife. We met when I was 23. So right after that summer. So we came back from Tahoe, did our trip, and then right after that summer is when we met. She moved out from New Jersey, school at Michigan, and then came out here. We met in Pacific Beach, which is the city over here. So we were together for 6 years before we got married. So sometime in the middle of the pool, we had got married. It was 2012. Yeah, so I sold it in 2015. So yeah, it was right in there.
Did you guys have
kids at the time?
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you see a pretty consistent growth with going from 10 pools to 100? Was that pretty linear, or like what was the biggest kind of catalyst for taking on more pools? Was it other small companies approaching you and also wanting to get out and you're kind of taking over other smaller routes, or was it just through word of mouth and reputation? Like, how did you grow that?
A little bit of both. It was a few purchases. So my brother-in-law was in the business at the time as well. And he had some routes that had some really nice pools in really affluent areas of the city, of the county. And so the price tag per pool was up there, which was nice. And then we also, purchased a few routes here and there. I say we, it was just me at the time, but purchased a few routes and ended up and a lot of word of mouth. But looking back, it was like, oh, there was so much. We didn't have a newsletter. Like 1 year, 2 years, I maybe sent out a newsletter or like update and just like little things of where you can get so much more business from the people you already have. And I wasn't doing any of it. It was just like one of the reasons because I didn't like it. The second reason, I just didn't have the time. I was working in the business instead of on the business. It was a lot of manual labor and beating up your body and that kind of stuff. But
one last question on the pools before we get into kind of your transition. What was like the most baller pool that you ever served? Like, was there any? Because I'm sure you're in obviously very affluent neighborhoods with some pretty sick pool setups, I'm guessing.
Oh man, there was some. Yeah, so Rancho Santa Fe is a big area here, and it just you have sports athletes, and I had some of their pools, and you have other people who are just businessmen, and so it wasn't actually one of my pools, but one of my brother-in-law's pools that I helped him service a few times. It was insane estate. So you're coming up this huge driveway, these giant pieces of art that are probably $1 million here, $1 million there. You come up to the pool, you kind of pull under like this overhang, and the pool's like above us. And so it's like there's a big pool, big, not like a waterfall, but kind of a little overflow going off the side. The pool actually wasn't that big, but just the property was amazing. He has on the backside, like this big stream that my brother-in-law took care of. There's probably about an acre big pond on the same property. And it's just
Wow.
like, that billionaire status where it's just like, man, this is crazy. But yeah, there was a a lot of the other pools. It was kind of the things you found in the pools. I was up
Wow.
by, I had a good route. I hooked up with the management company, and so I had a bunch of pools up by San Diego State, the college area, and I would find, oh my gosh, so one time they had like a bar set up in their backyard. You would find chairs and all kinds of stuff. Those pools were disgusting. One time their bar had a beehive had got built on it somehow. So they just pushed the entire bar into the pool. So that it's just filled with bees. There's an entire bar in there, and it's my job to like fish all this out and
Great.
just going, man, that route that day, I think it was Wednesdays, gives me nightmares. That was not a good day.
Well, I can see a few of those experiences would, yeah, maybe make you second guess what you're doing and have some higher goals and aspirations. So how did that then transition into real estate?
Yeah, so I sold that business, and the way you sell, it's not like, you're making a ton of money, but you usually sell it for 10 to 12 times what your monthly service is. So, made a decent chunk of cash. No plan whatsoever going forward. And I'm just like, shoot, I got so much time, kind of good for, we didn't have a kid at this time. And like, all right, so what do you want to do? So I kind of sat there for like a year. I call it like a mini retirement. I didn't just sit there. I was working on ideas and stuff. None of them were good. They're all, well, yeah, they were not great. They were just
Entrepreneurial.
yeah, just doing research. One was like, oh, I'm gonna make like a clothing company and like make just tank tops, and what's the differentiate? I don't know. It was just silly ideas.
Mm-hmm.
And about halfway through that time, about 6 months in, I was like, okay, I got none of these ideas are seeming great. I'm just gonna get my real estate license to, that seems like a direction. At least I'm moving in a certain direction. At this time, my wife's pregnant. we're kids coming at some point soon. And anyways, just kind of scrapped all those ideas, just studying for the real estate exam, took all that, got in that. There was no real, like, I just love real estate. I love houses. I just saw it as another business opportunity of there's, yeah, you could buy and sell houses, but I think there's other stuff in there, which I haven't really explored yet. I was still working on the, residential buying and selling side, but there are still other aspects of real estate that we get into. So yeah, I ended up getting my real estate license and
What year was
got
that?
it. That was 2016.
Okay.
And yeah, we had, I believe May. Yeah, it was May that year. My first son was born. So it was like, got February, got my license. I think I hung my license in March, and then had a kid in May. So it was a pretty fun little month there.
And your
Or year.
wife had a pretty stable job. Obviously, she had to take some time off for post, after having your first child. Was there some, sense of urgency to, as soon as you got your license, to like get some deals done and, get some paychecks coming in to help support the family? Was there a little bit of higher level of urgency than maybe other people face when they first get into the business?
Yeah, I would have thought so, but honestly, not a ton, because I think part of the reason is the comfort of her. So she's a teacher. She's been at the same place for, over a decade now. At that point she hadn't, but she had been there a few years, well established. She's been teaching for like 20 years. So I think having that as a backdrop has kept us in a comfort level, which has been great. Things are changing a little bit this year, which we get into later, but it was never like, I've always kind of worked hard, done, what needs to be done to get the business, all that kind of stuff. A lot of people I hear, yeah, I just had that kid and I had this urgency. I didn't really feel that. I don't know why, but I think it was probably the comfort of her job. And so, yeah, that first few months though, I went into a local brokerage and they're awesome. They've been here forever in San Diego, or just locally in North County, San Diego. Met a bunch of great people, and they, it was like, got to do this. It was kind of a little old school, the guy who ran it, he was awesome. He was sales guy. I mean, he was typical sales guy, but like in a good way. He was just so good with people. He just knew so much. He had been in the business forever. The way he built his business was door knocking, right? And it was, so that's kind of how we got trained, not door knocking, but that kind of style of real estate, which ultimately we have since switched. But within that first, I think it was June or July. So my son was born in May, June or July, I got my first listing. And we were just out with dinner with some friends and we were just talking. And they're like, hey, we're going to sell our house. I was like, hey, you need help? And I just assuming nothing was going to come of it. They're like, oh, you just got your license. But they're awesome. They're like, gave me the opportunity. And so I took that opportunity and it was, it was fantastic. It was really good learning experience. It was a little condo in downtown San Diego. And since they were friends and it was just a good all around experience, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are little things here and there as always, but it was a good learning experience at least. And then a few months later, they ended up buying a much bigger house in a, kind of a beach community. So those are my two first sales. And I said, this is easy, man. This is, everybody's telling me this is hard. I could, thinking my ego got definitely elevated. And I was just like, okay, this is real estate. I can do this all day. Come to tell, the next 4 years were, very slow. It was tough. We're not making much money, only having a few sales and just kind of going over the same stuff. I did a lot of that old school, do you know Brian Buffini?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like his old school marketing, sphere of influence, handwritten letters, all that kind of stuff, which was good. I knew a bunch of people here, but I still wasn't getting the business. And so my wife gave me an ultimatum, more or less. Year 5, you got to make some money or you got to find something else. And that was the year we started a YouTube channel and definitely had, my best year ever by double, which was great.
Hell yeah.
And it just really kind of jumpstarted where we are now. So it kind of saved my real estate career.
So with the YouTube starting that year, was this kind of kick in the pants from your wife something that made you start thinking outside the box and looking at other ways to generate leads? And was that part of your motivation to even, come across this YouTube possibility of lead generation? Or how did the YouTube kind of come to fruition?
Yeah. So there was like a few people doing it in the very beginning. And at our old brokerage, we had a tech guy, and he just kept saying, do video. We're like, okay, what does that mean? Do video. So, but there was no direction. It was just like, so we were making, even back then at our old brokerage, we were making videos on, a cool hike or whatever, like things around town, like, hey, quick little vlogs that we were filming on like our phones and, old GoPros and this and that. And so it was cool. It was, it was before most people in San Diego were even on YouTube, which was great. But it just really didn't work out. So then listen to Gary Vee and listening to all these guys, consistency. I was like, okay, I'm going to be super consistent. So what I did, like, I think it was about 2019, I filmed like my entire day, but like May, I think I filmed. So every day in May I would film my day, kind of make a vlog. And then every day in June, I would post that. So for 30 days straight, I had 30 different videos. They called it like Realtor Life or whatever. I had an intro and kind of just following me around, town, go to meetings, whatever it was. It was kind of fun. But those videos, after 30 days, saw nothing, saw no growth. And I was like, consistency, that's not where it's at. Even though 30 days is not enough time, But in my mind, I said 30 days, 30 vlogs, like that should do it. And it didn't really get anything. So I started listening to podcasts and hearing different people. And I came across this one gal, Karen Carr, I think she's out of Georgia. And she was like talking about YouTube, talking about these videos, talking about how she's getting business from these videos. I said, this is right around that 2019-ish. I said, yeah, that sounds good. So I got her book. And it's a YouTube Secrets. I don't think I have it behind me, but YouTube Secrets, read it. And she had a little different style than the ones we're doing now, but great intro. I signed up for her mastermind, her class, got into it, her webinars, and really gave me the ground, the base for what YouTube needed to be for us. And it was the really start. And so years later, obviously it's worked out. But during that time, talking to my wife in the interim, she's like, yeah, I didn't think, I mean, you came home telling me about you're going to do YouTube and you have this YouTube book and like, what are you doing? Turns out it was a good idea at the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, definitely paid off. So then just keep studying. You're studying. You're like, okay, what's, the YouTube? Okay. So I found the next level of kind of progression where we went is Channel Junkies. So if any real estate people have listened to them, they were like the OGs of the living in channels, all that kind of stuff. And we already had a little bit of that going, but then seeing what they were doing and putting calls to action in your videos. So people actually call you, titling your videos, making sure that the thumbnails are, not just a little interesting, I guess, a little, clickable, nice, looking good. And so they had their whole system. So then I signed up for their whole system, and it was like, okay, now we're at the next level. Karen Carr, she's still crushing it. She just has her own style. I liked a little bit more of the getting out in the community, vlog style, map style, whatever it might be, all these different areas that I could just, top of my head, just kind of rip off like, hey, here's this, as opposed to a little more kind of real estate related topics.
Yeah, for me, sorry to interrupt you. For me,
for it.
as an outsider, just, I'm aware of a lot of different channels and a lot of other people just kind of doing video at this point. And I think one of your biggest strengths is how you're really good at not just creating content, but also just capturing it, just in the moment, just like your little, just, stories. And you're always, like you're saying, out in the field, which is something I admire because I have a really hard time with that. Just feeling not embarrassed. I don't know what the right word is, just timid about being out in the public and having my, little setup looking at, having people looking at me and all that stuff. But I just think you've done a really good job with capturing, and in addition to creating content. And maybe that was, again, from, these first videos that you were creating back in, 7 years ago.
It definitely was. The first setup we had literally was a cell phone on like a selfie stick, right? And then we just had little lavalier mics. I got a little splitter because I have a partner, so it was me and him. We kind of had to stay close to the camera. It was kind of awkward and funny. We're out in public, and you're walking. Some of our videos, we're walking down the main street, and there's people passing us and this and that. But over time, just get used to it. Now I'll walk down. We still use our GoPro just because I like the setup we have, the mic, whatever. Even though we have a little bit different camera, but nonetheless, it's just a lot more comfortable now. Just getting out there and doing it. We've been doing it for at least 4 years, that vlog style, and sometimes I'll be walking as I'm watching the edit and stuff and seeing the background and somebody's like, doing the neck turn, but I don't really even notice it while you're out there. You're just kind of in the flow, and people are going to look, people are going to do what they want. But especially in today's day where a lot of people are doing this, it's kind of not as, you get ignored a lot too, which is people are kind of used to it. So it's kind of good.
So Channel Junkies comes across your radar. You start diving deep into them, changing up the kind of the style of some of these videos. How long until you got your first actual client from YouTube once you kind of went that direction?
So it had to have been probably about 3 to 6 months. It wasn't that long before we got our first reach out. Before we closed the deal, it was a little longer because the lead times are, people are calling well ahead of time because it's relocation. So they're planning ahead. But that first reach out was, well, dude, we just got an email. Somebody's moving out here just from these videos we were making. Like, okay, let's continue that. And back then though, the competition level was much less, right? It was 2020. And so in San Diego, there was a few more, but 3 main channels. We were one of the top 3, right? One of the mistakes we did make at the beginning is being too micro. So what that means is my initial channel was called I Am Encinitas. Encinitas is a small city. It's about 60,000 people right here in North County, San Diego. And I was like, I'm going to make all the content on Encinitas. So anytime anyone looks up Encinitas, I'm going to come up on YouTube. And so I did, but it wasn't producing the business. So then we made it North County. It was called North County, San Diego with Chris and Cassidy. So we made it like that. And then we were covering like North County, which is a little bit broader area. There's probably about 10, 12 cities within there. But if we focused on San Diego as a whole at the beginning, I think it would have made a much bigger difference, because in our mind, we're like, oh, people want to move to Encinitas, but they don't know they have no idea where Encinitas is. They know San Diego, and maybe they visited Encinitas, but maybe they don't know the next city over. Like, I didn't know that one was there. Since then, we've switched. Now we're a San Diego channel. So like our bigger picture videos are San Diego. We went a little bit broad and we started covering other areas, do like one-offs of like this neighborhood or this, master plan community. So as you get the funnel, you have the San Diego videos, then you have like the city videos, and then you start having like these smaller and smaller videos. And we kind of got away from our core, which was where we were getting a lot of our business, of probably about 5 cities right here in San Diego. And so recently, because more competition, there's just a lot more YouTube videos about living in San Diego. We're shifting, and the leads have slowed down. The number of reach outs has slowed down. We've recently started to go back to our core of making these core videos of simple ones. Back in the original Channel Junkies ones, pros and cons, cost of living, the base channels, living in this city, but tying into the title San Diego somewhere. So instead of just like, let's call it Encinitas, living in Encinitas, California, the best neighborhoods or whatever, we're doing something where it's Encinitas, California, living in this top San Diego city or something like that. So tying in the titles as well. So we've had this kind of like the third rendition where because during COVID, during all that stuff, it was just like Zoom like this. Me and Cassie would hop on here. Quality was horrible. Information was great. Not horrible. Okay. Quality wasn't great. Information was good. And that's when we got a lot of the reach outs were from those videos. Some we were getting, 12, 15,000 views, which was awesome.
Wow.
And a lot of reach outs too. But since then, those videos were still live. We've been kind of cleaning up our channel. And now we're like in the next phase of now we need good quality and also, the reach outs. We're kind of, we're changing things up a little bit right now.
So 4 years into doing this kind of, new 2.0 version of channel, what percentage of your business today is through YouTube reach outs versus just traditional, referrals, Sphere, all the other stuff that generates as clients?
Yeah, I wish I had the exact number, but it's probably this year. It's a little more because we've started to engage our past clients a little bit more. 2022, when we had a ton of movement, I would say probably about 80% of our business was relocation clients.
Wow.
People coming in.
Awesome.
It's slowly, now we're about 50-50 right now. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, we got 4 escrows going, and 3 out of our 4 right now are relo clients.
That's awesome, man. That's inspiring for me to hear. That's really cool. So yeah. Cassidy, I've heard you bring him up a few times, and haven't had a chance to formally meet him on one of our other meetings that we have weekly, but he's sounds like been around kind of from day one, he sounds like a very close friend of yours, almost like a brother, somebody that, you've been connected with for very long. So yeah, he is a business partner, but it sounds like he's a little bit more than that too, right? He's somebody you're pretty close with.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we actually hooked up the first, he was one of the first real estate people I met in real estate. Our wives had taught together up in Oceanside, and he was like, I went out to dinner with my wife, and she's like, oh, that's Chelsea, who I work with, like sitting at the table behind us. And Cassie was sitting right there. I was like, hey, what's up, man? That was the first time we met, was just out to dinner on a random, Saturday night or whatever. Anyways, he kind of got me into this first brokerage. He's like, yeah, you should check out these guys. And from there, we've always done business a little bit together or helped each other out. And it's been great. And right when we started doing the YouTube things, I started going through these ideas like 2019, 2020. I said, I'm going to start this YouTube channel. I think you should do one too. And I built mine out, channel, thumbnails, blah, all the basics to get it going. And he hadn't done anything. I said, dude, why don't you just join my channel? And then we'll just split everything that goes from there. Because I really wanted him. One of the things I've been trying to do over the last few years is take myself out of the transaction. And he loves that part of it. And so I'm like, let's do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. make the videos. Let me kind of do the lead generation and other capacities for our business. Let me, put together how we're following up with clients and build the business section of it. You take care of the clients, you take care of the transaction. And it's slowly grown to that where now the last few transactions, he was out of town, so I had to take care of some stuff this weekend. For the most part, he's leading on that. Clients, as they're reaching out on YouTube, they're setting up a Zoom call with him. He's showing the houses. I mean, I'm still out there. Obviously, I have to, sometimes if we have overlapping schedules or whatever with showings and whatnot. But it's just been a really good partnership. I'd say anybody out there who's in my position of not necessarily, it's not like I don't like the transaction or I'm not good at it. I'm pretty good at negotiating, pretty good at connecting with clients, pretty good at getting them to houses, pretty good at all those parts, the other, the transaction part of real estate. I just don't like it. It's just like, you like it, you do that. But if you can find somebody that can help you out in that way, that's not the same, that has, because if we both like doing this side of the business, it wouldn't work out. Then we'd have to find somebody, which eventually we'll find somebody to replace him. And, he could start a different role. But as of now, it works out great. So yeah, we've been tight for a while. And now we were splitting YouTube business. Now we just split every business sphere, referrals, anything that comes through. It's like, all right, it's the Living in San Diego crew. So
I feel like that's so important, just to have equal buy-in and 50-50. You're not feeling like you're doing more than him or vice versa. Everybody's at the same level of motivation, and, same amount is on the line for both of you, which is cool.
Yeah.
And you're able to vet him for a significant amount of time, before kind of getting to that decision today. So you're very lucky. That's something that's pretty hard to find. I've gone down the route of having business partners. It's tough. So good for you to find that diamond in the rough. That's awesome.
Yeah. One part of that too is when we first hooked up and started doing business together, the roles weren't clearly defined, and we kind of both did this is my whatever referral from somebody that I knew, so I'm going to take care of them, and and then you do this and I do this, and so clarifying the roles, which has taken a long time, of here's what you should focus on,
Mm-hmm.
and here's what I'm going to focus on. It's been a lot of conversations, a lot of just trial and error, honestly, of like just being out there and figuring out like what exact roles need to be taken care of. But now that have that pretty well established, it's very nice.
I can tell that you're super motivated and have, high goals and aspirations. Do you guys do a occasional, whether it be annually, or obviously you guys talk to each other on a daily basis, I'm sure, but have you kind of clearly define like what your goal is, like where you want to see the business in 5 years from now, and just understanding like if you guys are on the same trajectory on the long-term plan for your businesses?
We don't necessarily think that far long-term. We're more, we don't have like a 5-year. It's more like, okay, do we want to do this going forward? So recently we've been talking about, do we want to maybe flip houses? And he's like, yeah, of course I do. And so now that conversation is open. Okay, so what does that look like? He's like, but not right now because we need to do money. I was like, oh, we could find money. Like I don't know if we can. I haven't looked into it, but I'm sure we could. And so that's just another aspect of real estate. Or I'm sure at some point we'll have the conversation of, okay, he's going to be done with, out there showing clients and this and that, and we'll have enough buyer client. Okay, so what do you want to do next? Like, we don't necessarily have that 5-year plan, but we have kind of a vision, I guess, of where we're headed. It's just not clearly defined, which isn't great for a goal, I guess, but we do have like a direction.
So if you, let's just say had 10 more clients just thrown at you today that all wanted to buy a house in the next 6 months, if the workload was too much for the two of you guys, would you just, pay like a buyer's agent just to help show houses and kind of, put a Band-Aid on the situation that way? Or do you see potentially him helping kind of manage other people that you're bringing onto your team and training them up with his skill set and kind of growing up your actual team of Living in San Diego?
I think I think we would have some sort of buyer agent and an agreement with them. It's, it comes to a point like during 2021, 2022, we were at a point where, he was working with 3 clients on a Saturday. I had 3 clients on a Saturday, and we're like trying to figure out showings and these guys meeting these guys. And it was kind of intense. And so we didn't handle it well during that time. We just, grit our teeth and got through it. I don't know if our goal is to be that busy.
Yeah.
I think at that point, I think one thing that we always have is the transaction side of the business, where you have your clients. That's going to be right now with what we're doing. We're pretty consistent on the workflow, the number of people out there, and we could continue to grow that. We definitely have some more capacity there. We probably could do double of what we're doing right now and be fine. But I don't know if we want to grow it to where we have that extra person. At that point, maybe we take our time and maybe just refer it out or pick the clients that we want and then, have them kind of run it from there, have some sort of agreement, especially if they're like YouTube clients. I think that's different than there's a lot of teams in San Diego that do like Zillow and, the Zillow Flex and all that kind of stuff where it's just mass amount of clients, where the clients that we get are pretty much like a lot closer to the end, or they trust us already. They like us. They know us from watching videos or whatever the marketing we're doing. And so at that point, handing them off to somebody, I think is a little bit more than it would just be a referral fee. It'd be like a bigger split. I think, other people we've talked to, it's like the splits are a little bit bigger, but yeah, I don't know if we'll get that busy, and I think we'll probably focus on other things as we get there.
When you talk about having 3 separate clients all on a Saturday, and then I think of San Diego's reputation of, having some of the most challenging, traffic in the nation, and just these little windows of showings that you got to get to, and you got to finish with these people to meet these other people, maybe on the whole other side of town. And that sounds, because I deal with that even in Denver, and it's nothing like San Diego when it comes to just the scale of the size or just the traffic. So I can imagine that could be very nerve-wracking.
It was a bit stressful. Yeah, it was a bit stressful because in that point too, we're telling clients what they need to win the offer, how many offers are on the table, how much they need to go over at that point. We need to potentially, shorten all these contingencies, get rid of them. It was definitely I'm glad that time's over for the time. That was a little intense. That wasn't fun, but we got through it.
Well, and if they're relocation clients, I'm guessing that some of these people are being very intentional about, making a trip down from, maybe they're taking a couple-hour drive down for just this reason of seeing you guys that day, and making sure you're giving them your full undivided attention and not feeling like you're shorting them to, get on to the other clients. That just sounds like some pretty challenging logistics if you have that flow of business and multiple, clients on the same day.
Yeah, it definitely was. And our client flow has not been like that since then. We still have consistency, but it's not because at that point it was not necessarily the first or the second house that they're getting, because it's 15, 20 offers. And so we're writing the best offer that they can write to put them in the best position to win, but somebody's beating them out. And so that happens multiple times. So that just kind of backed up clients a little bit, where, instead of, a typical 1 to 3 month time frame, maybe it took a little bit longer because there's just more competition, more buyers out there. And so these guys came in, they should have been in escrow and closed, or not should have been, but, in a typical time frame, they would have been closed, but now they're lined up with the next clients that came in. So now it's a little bit more steady flow, not as hectic, I would say. But one thing, like with the YouTube clients, the YouTube channel, something that's maybe, it's always been like this, but we've dialed in our system for virtual showings and all that kind of stuff. The 3 reload clients we have in contract right now, never even saw the house before we're in escrow. One, I don't even know if they're coming out, honestly, before we close. And the other 2 came out one time. It's just like the trust that they have in us. It's awesome. And, our virtual tours have gotten better. And so that has put us in control, because now we're not having to meet them. We go see the house on our time frame because it's just us, and we'll send them the video later. So that's kind of a benefit of having relocation clients.
Okay. And a lot of realtors, myself included, even though I'm very still new at this, but I'm already trying to kind of transition more into the listing side versus the buyer side. And everybody has their own, kind of preferences. But I've noticed with you, you guys have had some listings and some pretty high dollar listings over the last year. That's another side of your business that you're also kind of, I think, probably getting traction on and, becoming a bigger chunk of your volume. I just can't imagine in a place like San Diego, just the median home price has got to be a lot higher than other parts of the country. You're getting these, couple $1 million plus type listings. Those types of clients, are they pretty unique compared to these buyer clients as far as, are they also still understanding the value of video and YouTube? Are you getting those clients through kind of as a secondary benefit of your YouTube channel, or are those people finding you just from more traditional marketing or from referrals? How are you guys kind of landing some of these high dollar homes that you're listing?
Yeah, most of the high dollar ones where we're talking, $2, $3, $4 million are past clients, and just kind of keeping in touch with them. Even though we've lacked on that, we've done it enough where we're still in their sphere. And they're actually some of the best clients. Like, so, the last two that we had at the beginning of this year, so we had like a 3-8, and it was like what they bought and sold. So it was a few different transactions. Some of the best, just savvy. They know, they've been through the process. They are not, necessarily during a inspection or during a request repair, like nitpicking little things. They just know the process. They know us, trust us. Like, it's just been, there's some of the honestly easier clients that we've had, just because, like I said, most of them we have the previous relationship. So that's, a bonus there. But it's not much different than the other houses that we have, because so last year our average sale price for Cassie and I was like $1 million per house.
Mhm.
And that's pretty typical. I mean, that's like, we have a condo about 20 minutes inland, which is not coastal. It's in an inland city, and that's for like 800,000. And so that's just our, price points, like you said, are much higher. So that does bring out a lot more competition. There's some people who have been in the business for a long time who continue to get a lot of business. And so chipping away at that and trying to get some of that business is difficult. But I think just focusing on our past clients and people we've sold a house to a few years ago, and now they're buying their next house. They've had, they've been in a good position. They've got a ton of equity. Then they turn into those higher price clients just from time.
So these savvy, investors these savvy sellers that are $2, $3, $4 million type listings, if you're not having to necessarily hold their hand throughout the process and they're already versed in, the buying and selling process and all that sort of stuff, like where are you really providing the highest level of value to them? Like, what's the difference with those types of clients, just with the value that you're providing? Is it just the communication? Is it just that reputation you're talking about? They just know that it's being handled and they don't have to worry about it. Like, what's the value with those types of clients? Because I'm imagining a lot of our audience has not ever even, thought about or had the opportunity to sell a $3 or $4 million home.
Yeah. So the one that we just sold earlier this year, it was it's the biggest listing I've had. It was a matter of, so they are busy people. They're traveling. They have their business up in Nevada. So they're out and about all the time. So we not only were we taking care of them, yeah, obviously during the transaction, but before that, it was a ton of just taking care of their house. Honestly, they're gone. If there's a showing, obviously we had to go open it up for them. If there was
That pool's
something
dirty. That pool's dirty. You got them.
I got them. Yeah. And it's like, if they were honestly not here for a lot of the transaction. And so it was a lot of us taking the role of them, to make sure we'd loop by there probably once a day, go make sure everything's locked up, turn off the lights, bring in the mail, all that kind of stuff. We had to move cars because they're doing construction, so we're having to make sure that's taken care of. So kind of like a concierge service on top of that.
That's
cool. A lot
cool.
of the marketing, a lot of that kind of stuff's the same. A lot of the transaction. Once you get into there, it's the same. There are some things that you do need to do, but for the most part, it's just making sure that they can leave, not have to worry about it, especially those busier clients, and being there for inspections and all that kind of stuff on the back end too. Is we were at that house a lot. Let's just say that.
That's great though, just to take that initiative of doing whatever needs to get done, just doing it without having to be asked to do it. And I definitely agree with you on that being such an easy way to add value that doesn't really cost you anything other than your time, but it's something that I imagine very few other agents are willing to do, or, think it's beneath them to, go, for me in Colorado, go shovel this sidewalk before showing, or, those little things that
exactly.
mean a lot.
Yeah. We'd go there, especially because we had some rain and stuff this year, which, a little bit of wind. So we'd go there and blow off all the sidewalks and just make it look as good as we could, do the walkthrough. And like I said, it was go open the house during the morning, go close it during the night, that kind of stuff, turn on all the lights for them. But even some of it did cost us money. We got a package delivered to the house. It was supposed to be sent to their other address. So he needed it overnighted. So I brought it down and he needed it that day. So I had to go pick up a few boxes, go bring them to like a postal annex or whatever, and not expecting it to be crazy, but it ended up being like $600 to get them up there. Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? Don't worry about it. I got you. So that kind of stuff too. Just taking care of them.
That was really cool.
Yeah.
Well, just to respect your time, let's kind of wrap this up with kind of like a final little segment here. Obviously, our podcast is the pursuit of progress. I always am just really interested to learn from people like yourself that have a lot going on, both in your personal and professional lives. So obviously a wife, 2 kids, you got a very successful business going on. You got a lot of, balls in the air that you're juggling. Like, how do you keep, because you seem just very, calm, collected, you're in shape, you're healthy. Like what's a tip or two that you could share with the audience just on, maybe not feeling overwhelmed when you do have so much being thrown at you? Or I hate to use like the morning routine. Like, I feel like that's such a buzzword, but like, just like, what do you do personally just to kind of keep yourself, in that place where you're able to serve others and be in a healthy place to be at your top performance?
One of the biggest things is, which I'm not great at, but since I hired my coach probably about a year ago now, but is going over the calendar and putting stuff in there. So a lot of people do it on Sunday. I do it Monday mornings, go through my calendar, go through my week, figure out what I need to do, what projects I'm working on, kind of box that all out. But then working around, my wife puts in all the kids stuff. So, we got this day, you got pickups this day. So
Shared
she's good
calendar.
shared calendar. So she's good about doing that. So I could see when I need to be here or there, every Wednesday, Friday, or Monday and Wednesday, whatever it might be, from 3:30 to 5. I bring my kid to jujitsu, that's a weekly thing. But first things I put in there is my workout. So I'll schedule in my Monday through Friday workouts. I don't do weekends too much unless we have showings. Not workout, but put in my calendar. Mm-hmm. Most of it is Monday through Friday. Put those things in that I'm going to do. And sometimes I'm pretty good about, okay, so this morning, because we have a podcast, I'm going to meet a client later today. We're going to go golfing. I have some stuff in the middle of there. So I had to get up early. My workout was from, 6 to 7 this morning. Usually I have it during the day. I'm not a morning workout guy. I don't like it. It takes a lot of energy out of me. But getting that in the calendar, it's on there. It's got a block. It's good. A few other things I'll definitely put in every week is we have a secondary YouTube channel. It's getting that video done every week. Getting our primary video done and posted every week. So that's a block. We have just other things that are, my whatever projects I'm working on this week, get that in there. And like I said, if it's in there, it'll usually get moved around if something comes up. Like I had to go out to an inspection yesterday, so I had to move some things around, but it's in there so I could see it. And I'm not 100%, but I think having that in there first is definitely helped. Like I said, it takes a long time to get it in there, but I think the more I've done it, the better I've got at it. And putting the personal things in there too is super key.
And being able to, through actually following your calendar, start to see the actual rewards and benefits of, because my issue just personally is I'll put all this stuff on my calendar and then certain things, I need to do this instead, or something comes up out of nowhere and you put stuff, off on the side and then it never gets done. So you're just really diligent about respecting the calendar and having it kind of be a non-negotiable, regardless of what's thrown at you. Yeah, obviously you can, move things around a little bit, but if it's on the calendar, it's getting done that day at some point.
I would say my main things, yes, but I'm like you too. Things get
Yeah.
moved around, things get booted off. The priorities are priorities, and some things need to get done and they don't, but they will pop up the next week.
Mhm.
And at some point, I've been trying to put like a deadline on, okay, I need this done by whatever date it is. And getting it done by, like, I'm really, especially like even in school, I was really good about getting stuff done. But if I need it done Friday, I'm getting it done Thursday night, which isn't great, but it got done. Like, it was done at that. So putting a deadline on it has helped a little bit, and trying to be more diligent. Being diligent about, definitely, the workout's non-negotiable, the YouTube video is non-negotiable, that kind of stuff. Like the big pillars in my business are
Mhm.
non-negotiable. Some of the projects, tasks, etc., those should be non-negotiable, but they do get bumped a little bit.
And you're very fortunate living in a place like Southern California, where you've got a lot of sunshine, similar to Colorado, where just for your mental health, you're able to, dedicate some time outside every day and just get, that vitamin D and fresh air. And obviously you're a surfer and in that being outside. So that's also kind of part of your workout, or do you also put time into your calendar just for example, 15 or 30 minutes in the morning and maybe the similar time frame in the afternoon, just to kind of have a few minutes just to kind of reset and kind of get that second wind? Do you do something like that?
Those are usually my workouts. So since I'm not doing them in the morning, Tuesdays, Thursdays, those are my running days. Those are cardio. So I usually do those mid-morning. And
Okay.
then Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I do, strength training. And those are usually in the afternoon. So, like 2 to 3. And I just like those. It gives me something to look forward to throughout the day, a break. And even during those times, I'm throwing on a YouTube video and watch it, housing updates or whatever it might be, or how, it's still in the work day, but instead of sitting down and watching an hour-long YouTube video, I'm doing something while I'm kind of getting educated too. But yeah,
Mhm.
those are kind of my second wins. One thing that I don't have necessarily a morning routine. I've been trying to get up early after I did 75 hard, getting up and doing 2 workouts a day. And that was very regimented. That was very, get these things done. I don't want to restart this. I want to get this done. If anybody hasn't done 75 hard, you can look it up. There's a lot of podcasts and stuff on that, but it's, working out a bunch and eating proper and whatever. But during those 75 days, it was, very, get up at this time, do this, then take my picture, do my workout, and it was very, so I've kind of kept a few of those things where, I've been most of the time getting up at 5:30 or so, just to even, like, maybe I don't even have anything planned, but just to kind of get up. My kids don't get up till 7, take a breath, relax a little bit. Maybe I'll even throw on a
Mhm.
podcast, it doesn't necessarily have to be get up and do my workout and get this and, whatever, but it kind of gets your mind clear a little bit, I guess. And one other thing, it's not necessarily a morning routine, but even working at my home office, I'm here a lot. I'll be out
Yeah.
a little bit more because the kids are in summer break, but it's just getting dressed. Like, I'm not sitting in here like every day. I'm not sitting in here in my sweatpants, whatever it might be. I got my jeans on, I got my shirt on. Like, I get dressed every day, and it seems like, oh yeah, duh. But I mean, sometimes you see people in Zoom, they're like in sweat shorts and a tank top, and yeah, I want to be comfortable too, but I also like, that just gets me in the mood. Even if I'm sitting here making videos all day or calls or whatever it might be in the office, like, I'm still gonna get ready.
Have you ever watched that video, that commencement speech, Make Your Bed? Check it out sometime. I'll put it in the show notes too for anybody else that's listening or watching. But same idea, but just talking about something as simple as just making your bed every morning. It's the first thing you do in the morning. You're starting off with a small win. You're putting this high level of expectation just on how you're going to live that day. And very similar, just reminds me of what you're talking about. Just even if nobody else is in the house for the entire day, you're still respecting yourself enough to do certain things just to set that intent for the day. And it totally makes a huge difference just with your mental state and motivation for the day and all that stuff.
Right there.
Yeah. Cool, man. Well, man, I got a ton of value added today. I feel like that went by really fast. I appreciate you sticking around a little bit longer than we initially had planned for, but I think I would love to, dig deeper into a few other things selfishly that I wanted to learn more about that we didn't even get to address. Just talking about, scaling the business and just some other things regarding real estate and just personal life. So we'd love to have you on the podcast again, maybe later on this summer.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up, just for our audience, I'd love them to just get connected with you, especially if anybody's looking to have a very nice lifestyle out in sunny Southern California. What's the best way they can just find a little bit more about you?
Yeah, just go to Instagram at I am Chris Erickson. Dots in between, but you could just write I am Chris Erickson. It should pop up. ERICKSON. And yeah, that's just my most, even though I'm not super active, try to be more. But, if people are DMing me, all that kind of stuff, that's where I'll get back to them for sure.
And your YouTube channel, if they wanted to learn a little bit more about living in San Diego.
Yeah, so don't go to the YouTube channel. We try to keep that so one of the biggest things is unless you're trying to move out here, living in San Diego. But, one of the things that kind of in the beginning, you're not supposed to put your channel out there because you want to target them to learn who is actually looking for this content. But anyways, it's living in San Diego. If you guys do want to check it out and say what's up over there too.
Okay. Well, yeah, guys, look for him on Instagram. If you are considering seriously moving to San Diego, check him out there as well. But again, Chris, thanks so much for being on the podcast today. Everybody out there listening, watching the podcast today, do us a solid and just share this with a friend. We're trying to expand our audience and just provide value. We've got some great guests, some great content that we want to just hopefully help other people improve their lives in any way we can. So, do us a solid, share the show with a friend if you could. And with that, guys, hope you have a great rest of your week. This episode, as all episodes, are released every Friday. So keep an eye out for this one in a couple weeks. And until next week, we'll catch it on the Pursuit of Progress podcast. Thanks, Chris.